What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are back with the Fall of X and picking up with Colossus and X-Force. Now, for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with the X-Force team, this is basically like the Black Ops team for the X-Men, right? Like they get their hands dirty and do all kinds of crazy covert stuff. But what they're talking about here is kind of in preparation for the Hellfire Gala. So this takes place alongside everything we've covered so far, but is also sort of separate from it at the same time. And Colossus makes a point in saying, due to the extremely sensitive diplomatic situation that we find ourselves in as a nation, and due to the terroristic behavior Beast is up to on the global stage, X-Force will stay off-site, maintaining a satellite presence only at this year's Hellfire Gala. Now, a couple things to know here. Again, for those of you guys who are kind of joining us, when he's referring to the diplomatic situation, remember, once all the mutants basically took off to Krakoa, it created a lot of fear and trepidation for the human race, because a lot of people saw it as the mutant population building up an army. And that's why you saw all these little pot shots by governmental organizations or by groups like Orchis and so on and so forth, trying to find some way to infiltrate the mutant population or destroy the mutant population. Now, the whole situation with Beast, that's actually covered in the Wolverine comics, which we need to finish. But basically, because they're kind of like the Black Ops team, they're effectively just watching. And so, of course, they have like cameras and different things like that. And Colossus even goes as far as to say that in the unlikely event that something were to happen, that they'll all only ever be seconds away, right? They'll be incredibly close and they'll be able to respond accordingly. And so what this does is it transitions to Cyclops kind of walking this sort of reef area, right? The cliff sides of Krakoa, and then planting one of their teleportation gates. Remember, those are the gates that allow you to enter in and out of Krakoa, no matter where you are in the universe, so long as you are a mutant, somebody with the mutant gene. Now, of course, things transpire exactly the way you would expect them to, right? Deadpool's just kind of like, nah, man, I'm going to go check out the dance. I'm going to go hang out over here in at the Hellfire Gala. And then Domino actually leaves. Now, there's a reason why she does this, right? There's a really, really cool reason, right? She's like, I've got something to focus on. It's more important than this, but I promise you it needs to be done. Then you switch back over to Colossus. And then Colossus at the Hellfire Gala itself basically just kind of wishes around a little drink and kind of enjoys himself. And then he's ultimately met by Xavier. Now, none of this seems overly important, but if you understand what's going on with Colossus right now in the X-Force comics, it's wildly important, and I will explain it. So, of course, Xavier kind of visits him, and the two of them sort of talk a little bit and so on and so forth, and just kind of muse, right? And Colossus informs him that like X-Force is basically on station in case anything pops off, they can respond accordingly, so on and so forth. Then you transition to the Savage Land and you pick up with Domino. And what Domino does is she talks about how Colossus had kind of left her breadcrumbs, so to speak, that he wanted her to come over here to check out the secret, quote unquote, that he had buried here. This is where he resided. This is where they had a lot of the crops and stuff that they would use for the various medicines and so on and so forth. What she finds here is a painting of Kayla. Now, Kayla was a mutant that resided with Colossus and would help him like tend the farms and all that kind of stuff. And in fact, Colossus killed her. Like, he killed Kayla. And we'll talk about why again here in a little bit. But before any of this can really come to bear, suddenly the Orchis strike takes place, right? So the Hellfire Gala is attacked by the forces of Orchis. Nimrod is basically annihilating and defeating all the Omega level mutants, right? All of some of the most powerful mutants. And the response of Colossus is basically to tell everybody to stand down. Now, this is the important thing, right? We get this kind of monologue where we're told this was not part of the plan, an unanticipated plot twist, a broken narrative. He has no words, no plan, until the writer finds a way to salvage the operation. And that's when he says, everybody stand down. And he says, there are many here who are more than capable of handling this, so stand down, right? Then you jump to Domino. And as Domino's making her way through the field, she finds this large area that looks recently disturbed and where flowers are just now starting to bloom there. As she starts to dig, she finds the body of Kayla. And she makes the statement, this isn't you, but you did it all the same. And this can be interpreted in a couple different ways, right? Like, it's not in the nature of Colossus to do something this terrible. What in the world happened that led to him killing this girl? But at the same time, there's actually a different meaning behind that. Again, you know, we'll explain it, don't worry, I'm not gonna leave you guys hanging. But ultimately, X-23 initially goes to respawn, right? Laura Kinney leaves X-Force to go respawn to the Hellfire Gala, and she's stopped by Colossus, right? Who tells her, I have a gate that's ready and waiting for us to access so we can get directly into the conflict. The entirety of the X-Force team, Omega Red, or at least those who are here, they all basically respawn and go running into the gate. In the middle of all this though, Sage, the kind of brains of the team, is contacted by Domino, who tells her Colossus cannot be trusted. And where Sage goes to tell her, like, he's leading us into the fight, her response is, whatever he tells you to do not do it. But regardless of this, virtually everybody runs in, right? You've got Laura Kinney, you've got Kid Omega, you've got Omega Red, and Colossus, only for all of them to be ambushed by Mikhail Rasputin, the brother of Colossus. Now, here's the thing, right? Let's explain what in the world is going on here, because you guys are all right. This is not normal for Colossus to betray the X-Men. He's part of the Quiet Council. He's part of the governing body that's designed to ensure that the mutant population remains safe and so on and so forth, all those different things. What had happened in X-Force issue number 24 is Mikhail Rasputin, one of the most powerful mutants in Marvel Comics and a mortal enemy of Colossus and even the X-Men, had come into contact or really attained the services of a guy called the Chronicler. And the Chronicler is a reality warping mutant with the ability to write down anything. And whatever he writes down becomes true. And so the idea was to basically write down what Colossus will and will not do. In effect, Colossus has been a sleeper agent for Mikhail Rasputin for quite some time. When he was brought on as part of the Quiet Council, he was a sleeper agent and nobody knew the difference. Nobody was any the wiser. Now, Mikhail is not working alongside Orchis. He had his own plans, and that's why Colossus says our plans have changed. Everything has changed, and I don't know where we go from here. It's cool. It's this really amazing moment because he's basically an unwitting betrayer of the X-Men. With that being said, guys, we're going to bring this to an end. If you need to get caught up on Fall of X, make sure you click this link to the playlist, and I will catch you all later. Peace.